Okay, in this video what we're going to do is talk about our parking lot and how to go about creating that. And in the last video, what you did is hopefully you put your building in. I'm not going to have mine in because it tends to slow the computer down a little bit, and so we're going to imagine that my building is in. So what we're going to do is we're going to go in and we're going to double click on the Keystone pad level. And this is where we're going to make our parking lot. And what we're going to be doing is using the floor tool, and you can see there's already a road in there. And anything you need to make, if you needed to make concrete or a road, you would just create that material type. I mean, generally the road's 4 inches thick. Generally your concrete is going to be 4 inches thick. So if you needed to make that style, you could go ahead and do it. But what you're going to do is you're going to want to look at your sketches that you guys did, and you're going to want to make your road that resembles your road and your parking lot resembles your sketch. So I'm just going to make a very simple one where I have my parking lot, and then I'm going to have this coming in. And remember, we have certain dimensions for how wide things need to be, and you're going to want to follow those dimensions for the codes that you looked up. And so I'm going to make a very simple parking lot with a road connecting it to our street coming in. Remember, you don't do the highway over here. And we're going to hit green check. Alright, so now once that's in, and we go and we look at this 3D mode, what we have is you might have this topography getting in your way. So what we're going to do is just click on it, and we're going to hide, right click, hide in view, hide the element. Alright, so we don't want to see our topography. So your requirement of the site plan is to get your parking lot in with as much parking spots as you need. You could take it a step further, put your curbs in, put your landscaping in, sidewalks are a requirement that you need to have a sidewalk coming in. But things like the curbs and the landscaping and the fancy things that I've shown you are not a requirement. But let's go in here and let's put our parking spaces in. So when you're doing things for your site plan, you're going to actually want to do it in your 3D mode. So you're going to do component, and you can see there's some items that are already in here. So let's go down, and we have our parking spaces here that are kind of come with the software you could use. And so when you put the parking spaces in, you saw a second ago mine didn't go in, and that was because it was in the footing level. We want to make sure we're at the pad level, and when it's in the pad level, remember spacebar rotates. All right, I could go in here, I could put my parking spaces, and I could just go in. They kind of snap together, and I could start putting in my parking spaces that I need. Remember, you're going to have a certain amount of parking spaces that you need. You've done the calculations for. You're going to have aisle widths and other things. Now, this parking space doesn't have some features that the ones that I have given to you do. So if you go into load family and you go to Revit families, and there's the parking folder. All right, so what we have in here is parking stall. And when I do the parking stall and I open it up, all right, it's going to do the upgrade. Make sure that you change it to the pad level, because you're going to raise your hand and ask me what's wrong with it. All right, and when you do it, now look at, I could rotate it around with the space bar. All right, and I put it in. Now that's nice. It has a little striping for the handicap area, has the symbol, but you're like, I don't have, you don't only need so many handicap spots, which you better have done the calculations for as well. So if I uncheck down here in the properties, the handicap unloading, so I uncheck the handicap unloading icon, and you're like, it doesn't look like it did anything when I go to put it in place, but look when I actually put it in place. It gets rid of the handicap icon and the handicap loading. So this would kind of be my regular one. You could use the copy command and just go in and copy them, putting them in one by one. Or the other thing you could do is, if I select, after I get a couple in, I hold down control and I select 3. Or now I could, you know, pick it up a little bit because you're going to need a lot of parking spots. All right, so those are some different choices. You have the components I gave you, all right, the Revit families that I emailed all to you a long, long time ago, and there's a parking folder in there with all sorts of goodies. All right, we have handicapped parking signs, we have some curbs, the parking stall, and the parking stall, here's a fully parametric one, and if we look at that one, you can see it's straight. We have angled ones, and it has some of the same things where you have to check the different lines you have in the types you want. So that's how you're going to put your parking stuff in. Notice that I'm always in 3D mode when I'm doing the site component. Now, if I go to my component and you want to put curbs in, which is not a requirement, but I know some of you are going to want to do it, let's do this two ways. We have our 90-degree curb that I could put in. All right. So when I go to put this in, this isn't going to work right. So I have to change it to inside corner. And make sure you uncheck the outside. And so when I put that in, it flips. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to use the Align tool to put this in. So I'm going to use Align. So if I select the curb, I could hit Align. All right, we have three ways. We're going to align these faces. And when I do that, I lock it. We're going to align. You always select the thing you're aligning it to first. All right, and we lock it. And now the last thing is I would do the top. There we go. And that would put my curb in. And if we go to our pad level 3D mode, now I could take and I could stretch this curb out and go the entire length of my project. Now, that's one way to get kind of the straight curves. If you want more of a fancier look and you want it rounded, let's go back to 3D mode. And you can see I got the curb there. So let's go right here and just put another one. But this time when we do this curb, we're going to do our curved one. Same business. We got to switch to inside corner. Oh, I lost it. There it goes. So I put it in, and looks like I had it right the first time. Don't forget that you could use spacebar to rotate around, which I just did. And when we put that in, same business, we're going to use Align. And you're aligning it to the parking lot you just made. Lock it. Don't forget to lock it. It is extremely important because you don't want it to move around on you. Oh, let's try that again. All right, and then the third one is kind of the top. All right, now, if you don't like this little gap, because you shouldn't, what you're going to do is if we, and I accidentally did the curve on the building pad, I know, but you'll understand what I'm doing here in a second. So what we're going to do is zoom out. We're going to select that parking lot. We're going to hit Edit Boundary. And now what you could do to get this exact shape in here is come right here to the Pick Lines, and I click on it, and now I could have it go there, and then what I need to do is trim this piece out. To do this the fastest, easiest way, you could use a trim command up there, or you could just delete this line. And then remember, all we're doing is just doing our profile. So I could use my endpoint there, my endpoint there. Oh, And I could do this one right here. Green check it. And I removed that constraint. And that will kind of fill in that area. So I accidentally did it to the building, but you get the idea that if I came in here, and just if you're confused as what I do, let's do it again. Let's do component. All right. So let's switch my curb. There we go. And once again, we're going to click on the curb. And we're going to do align. What I did is I rotated it around when I had the video paused, so you didn't have to suffer through that with me. We're going to do align, select the face, select that one, lock. All right, and you could see sometimes it's annoying to get it to rotate exactly where you need it to. All right, let's lock it. And now we have that tiny, tiny gap. So what would we do for that? We would click on the floor, edit boundary, okay. Pick lines. And then all we're going to do then is click this line, pull it back, click this line, pull it back, green check it, and that will give you a perfect rounded edge. And then once again, what you do, you go to that Keystone pad level, and you could take and you could then stretch your curb to where you need it to go. All right, what we're going to do in our next video is show you how to make some sidewalks and to fix your topography for the parking lot, because now we're going to have some issues.